Hi everyone, this is Stella and welcome back to Stellar Music Theory. Today we will go over Chapter 3 of Grade 1 in the new ABRSM workbook series Discovering Music Theory. In this chapter, we will learn about the semiquaver, grouping notes, and rests. The semiquaver. This is a semiquaver. The semiquaver is the shortest time value we will meet at Grade 1. Semiquavers have two tails. These are the tails. This is the first tail. This is the second tail. A semiquaver is worth 0.25 count, or is a quarter of a beat. There are 4 semiquavers in a crotchet and 2 semiquavers in a quaver. Let's look at the table on the right-hand side. At the bottom, here, there are 4 semiquavers. When we add 2 semiquavers together, it becomes a quaver. A quaver is a note with one tail and is worth 0.5 count. Because each semiquaver is 0.25 count, so when you add 0.25 plus 0.25 together, you have 0.5. On the right-hand side, we have 2 semiquavers as well. So 0.25 plus 0.25 equals to 0.5. And when we add 2 quavers together, since each quaver is 0.5, 2 quavers make 1, which is a crotchet. So in a crotchet, there are 2 quavers and there are 4 semiquavers. Semiquavers are often beamed in groups of 4 like this. So when you have 4 semiquavers, you need to beam them together. Beaming means turning the tail into a line. Since there are 2 tails, there are 2 beams. Exercise 1. Circle true or false for each statement. Statement A. 4 semiquavers has the same duration as a crotchet. If you remember, each semiquaver is worth 0.25 counts. So when we have 4 semiquavers, 1, 2, 3, 4, we beam them together. Remember, there are 2 beams. And together, they make 1 count, which is a crotchet beat. So the statement in A is true. Statement B, a semiquaver lasts longer than a quaver. Like we said earlier, a semiquaver is worth 0.25 count and a quaver is worth 0.5 count. So a semiquaver is not longer than a quaver. So this statement is false. Exercise 2. Answer each musical sum with one note. So here, they want you to add the notes together, find the sum total, and in the box, you are going to write one note that represents the answer. Question A, we have a semiquaver plus a semiquaver. So a semiquaver plus a semiquaver, which is 0.25 plus 0.25 together, make 1 quaver, which is 0.5 count. Question B, we have a minim. A minim is worth 2 counts, plus here we have 2 sets of 4 semiquavers, which mean 8 semiquavers. And each set of 4 semiquavers make 1 beat. So this is a 1. The other set is also 1. So altogether we have a 2 plus 1 plus 1, which makes 4. So I'm going to write 4 here. Which note represents 4 beats? The answer is a semi-brief. Next, challenge. Match each rhythm with the correct time signature by drawing lines. On the right hand side, there are 3 boxes. The first one is 3/4 time, which means there are 3 beats in every bar. The second box, we have a C. This is a common time. A common time is the same as a 4/4 time. The top number 4 shows there are 4 beats in every bar. And in the bottom box, we have a 2/4 time. The top number 2 shows that there are 2 beats in every bar. And in grade 1, we always have 4 as the bottom number in the time signature, which means crotchet is the unit of the beat. So crotchet gets 1 beat. So in 3/4 time, there are the values of 3 crotchets in every bar. In common time or 4/4 time, there are the values of 4 crotchet beats in every bar. And in 2/4 time, there are the values of 2 crotchet beats in every bar. So what we are going to do now is to look at the boxes in the left-hand side. Let's start with the first one. We know that the unit of the beat is crotchet. It's always crotchet in grade 1. So we're going to circle or group the beats together as crotchet. Here we have 2 quavers. 2 quavers make 1 crotchet. So this is our beat 1. Next we have a crotchet, which is beat 2, and another crotchet, which will be beat 3. Then we see a bar line, so we have to stop here because every time after the bar line, we'll have to start with 1 again. Since there are 3 beats in every bar, we know that this is a 3/4 time. So I'm going to match this with 3/4 time by drawing a line. Grouping notes. We use beams to group quavers, these ones with 1 tail, and semiquavers, the one with 2 tails, together to help us see the beats more easily. Notes are often beamed together to make 1 full beat. Now this is very important. I'm going to put a star here because we always group the notes together so then they show 1 full beat. This is the easiest way for us to read the notes. Let's look at the box in the right hand side. The first one here, we have 2 quavers. Each quaver is the one with a tail. So when you have 2 of them together, you join them with a beam. This is the beam. And 2 quavers make 1 crotchet. So this is 1 beat. Next, let's take a look at the one on the right side. We have 4 semiquavers, and semiquaver is the one with 2 tails. So when you have more than 1 together, you will group them together with a beam. And like we said earlier, we usually beam them together in 4. So if you have 4 semiquavers, you will beam them together. Remember to use 2 beams because there are 2 tails. So 4 semiquaver again make 1 beat. So I'm going to write 1 here. Next, we are going to look at the one in the bottom left, which is this one here. First, I'm going to draw 4 semiquavers. Remember, semiquavers are the one with 2 beams, like this. If I separate these 4 semiquavers into 2 groups, I will have a group of 2 semiquavers and another group of 2 semiquavers. If I keep the first 2 notes as semiquavers, like this, and I group the other 2 semiquavers together as a quaver, which is the one with 1 tail, I can join them together like this, which is the same as this one here. So this is what it means. The first 2 notes are semiquavers. The third note is a quaver. So this set of notes is the same as this, which is 4 semiquavers or 1 crotchet beat. I'm going to erase this first. This time, I'm going to group the first 2 semiquavers together to make it a quaver, which is the one with 1 tail. Then, I'm going to keep the second group of 2 semiquavers like this, two beams. And if I group these three notes together, it becomes this, which is the same as this group here. Again, this is just the same as 4 semiquavers or 1 crotchet beat. Smart tip. When beaming quavers with semiquavers, make sure they are part of the same beat. Exercise 3. Number the beats and then complete the time signature for each melody. So first, we're going to number the beats. Question A is already done for you as an example. We're going to go over it anyways. So question A, we have 4 as the bottom number, so we know that crotchet is the unit of one beat. So we're going to group the notes together as crotchet. We have a crotchet here, so that's beat 1. Another crotchet, that will be beat 2. Then we have our bar line. We only have 2 beats before the bar line, so it must be 2 4 time because there are 2 crotchet beats in every bar. And we're going to continue with the rest of the bars. Bar number 2, we have 4 semiquavers here. We know that 4 semiquavers make 1 crotchet beat, so that's beat 1. And then 2 quavers make 1 crotchet beat, and that will be beat 2. And again, we see the bar line. So there are 2 beats in the second bar as well. In the last bar, there's only 1 note, which is a minim. And minim is worth 2 beats or 2 counts. So we're going to write 1, 2. Question B. First, we're going to number the beats. Again, we have 4 at the bottom. We always have 4 in grade 1, so crotchet is always the unit of 1 beat. We have 4 semiquavers here. 4 semiquavers make 1 crotchet beat, so this is beat 1. Then we have 2 quavers. 2 quaver is 1 crotchet beat, so that's beat 2. Next, we have 2 quavers again, which is 1 crotchet beat, and that's beat 3. Finally, we have 1 crotchet, which is the 4th beat. There is only 1 bar in question B, and there are 4 beats in this bar, so the time signature would be 4 4 time. 4 crotchet beats in every bar. Exercise 4. Number the beats and then tick 1 box for each question to show which bar is grouped correctly. Here, in each question, there are 3 bars, and you will notice that the rhythmic pattern in each bar is the same, but the notes are not grouped in the same way. So only 1 bar is grouped correctly, and you're going to put a tick on top of that bar. Question A is done for you as an example, and we will go over it together. So first of all, question A is in 4 4 time, shows that there are 4 crotchet beats in every bar. So we're going to group the notes in crotchet beats. So here we have a crotchet, which is beat 1. Then we have 4 semiquavers, which is beat 2. 2 quavers, which is beat 3, and crotchet, which is beat 4. If you remembered from earlier, we said that semiquavers need to be grouped together in 4, but they are grouped in 2 instead, so it's not grouped correctly. Let's take a look at bar 2. Again, we have crotchet, which is beat 1. The 4 semiquavers is beat 2. 2 quavers make beat 3, and crotchet is beat 4. Now here, in beat 2, this time, you notice that the 4 semiquavers are grouped together as 4, so this is correct grouping. That's why there's a tick. Let's look at bar 3. Crotchet is beat 1. Then we are supposed to have 4 semiquavers in beat 2, and the 2 quavers is beat 3, and crotchet is beat 4. Now obviously this is incorrect because you notice that these 2 semiquavers, which is part of beat 2, and this quaver, which is part of beat 3, They are grouped together, so it is incorrect. Question B, we are in 3/4 time, meaning there are 3 crotchet beats in every bar. Here we have one quaver with 2 semiquavers, which is 1 crotchet beat, so that's beat 1. The 2 quavers here is beat 2, and the crotchet is beat 3. Now if you look at it, it's quite easy to read because all the notes are grouped according to their beat, so this is correct. Let's move on to bar number 2. Here we have a quaver. This is the quaver. And the quaver with 2 semiquavers together make 1 beat. So this and these 2 together should be part of beat 1. Then we have 2 quavers, which is beat 2, and the crotchet here, which is beat 3. Now this is quite confusing because you see how the second half of beat 1, which is here, plus the first half of beat 2 is grouped together. So this is incorrect grouping. Bar 3, we have a quaver here, and this is a semiquaver. This is also a semiquaver. And we're supposed to group these 3 together to make 1 beat, so this is beat 1. And these 2 quavers is beat 2, and the crotchet is beat 3. Now again, this is quite confusing because instead of grouping them according to their beats, you see part of beat 1, which is this semiquaver, is grouped together with beat 2. So this is incorrect. Next, we have rests. Silences during music need to be counted just like notes. We use rests to do this. Here are the most common rests. Semi-brief rest. If you remember what the semi-brief is, this oval is a semi-brief. It's worth 4 counts. So when you see this here, which is like a small rectangular box hanging from the 4th line, this is a semi-brief rest and is worth 4 beats. Or sometimes when you have a whole bar of silence, we will also use a semi-brief rest, so it can be called a whole rest as well. Next, minim rest. This is a minim, so it's a semi-brief with a stem. A minim is worth 2 beats, so minim rest is worth 2 beats of silence. A minim looks very similar to a semi-brief, so don't confuse the 2 of them. A minim is more like a hat sitting on the 3rd line. Next, crotchet rest. This is a crotchet. A crotchet is worth 1 beat, so a crotchet rest is worth 1 beat of silence. Now this is the crotchet rest. To me, it looks quite vertical, like a 1, so it's quite easy to remember. Next, we have quaver rest. This is a quaver, the one with 1 tail. A quaver is worth 0.5 beat, so a quaver rest is worth 0.5 or half a beat of silence. And this is how it looks like. Because a quaver has 1 tail, you see that the quaver rest is like this, kind of like a small 7 sitting in the 3rd space. So this is a quaver rest. And next we have a semiquaver rest. Semiquaver is the one with 2 tails and it's worth 0.25. So here I'm going to write down 0.25. For the quaver is 0.5 or a quarter beat of silence. Semiquaver rest looks like a quaver rest, but because there are 2 tails in the semiquaver, the rest also have 2 of these instead of 1. So this is a semiquaver rest. Here, notice that the semi-brief rest hangs down from the 4th line up on the staff, while the minim rest sits up on the third line. So this is a semi-brief rest, and this, the one like a hat, is the minim rest. Exercise 5, complete this table. So there are 4 columns here. On the left-hand side, we have name of note, followed by note looks like, then rest looks like, and the right column is how many beats. So the name of note is semi-brief. The semi-brief note looks like an oval. The rest looks like this, hanging from the 4th line. And how many beats? Both semi-brief and semi-brief rest is worth 4 beats. Next, the name of note is missing, but the note looks like this. We know that this is a minim, so I'm going to write minim in the first column. And the rest for minim looks like this, a hat sitting on the 3rd line. How many beats? Both minim and minim rest is worth 2 beats. Now if you find a semi-brief and minim rest confusing, one easy way to remember is that both of them actually sits in the 3rd space. So you will notice that this is space 1, space 2, this is space 3, space 3. This one, the minim, also sits in 1, 2, 3, the 3rd space. So also in space number 3. So that's an easy way to remember. So next, name of note is missing. Note looks like it's missing, but the rest looks like this, which if you remember, it looks quite vertical, right? So this is a 1 beat. 1 beat is crotchet, and the crotchet note looks like this, a shaded note with a stem. Next we have quaver, and a quaver looks like a crotchet with 1 tail. The rest looks like this. Again, you will notice that it's also in the 3rd space. Looks like a 7. So again, this is space number 3. How many beats is a quaver or quaver rest? Is half a beat or 0.5. Either way is correct. So last one, the name of note is missing. Note looks like and rest looks like are all missing. But we know that is quarter. A quarter beat is also 0.25 count. We know that 0.25 count is a semiquaver, so we will fill in semiquaver here. And a semiquaver looks like a quaver, but with 2 tails. Again, the rest also looks like the quaver rest, but this time we need to add 1 more of this. So start with the 3rd space and then add another 1 in the 2nd space, and you will have a semiquaver rest. This is the end of Chapter 3. I hope you find my video useful. If you like my video, do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be posting new videos regularly. Stay tuned and see you next time.